My brother took my fiancée. For 6 months, my family protected them. So, I sold everything, vanished 3K miles, and built a life they could never touch. The Thursday I found them, I was not supposed to be home until 8:00 p.m. I was 30 years old, working as a fraud investigator and AML analyst at a major bank, handling anti-money laundering cases and fraudulent transaction investigations across the tri-state area. That particular Thursday, a vendor fraud case I had been building for 3 weeks resolved itself when the suspect's own accounting records surfaced during discovery. I closed the file by 2:00 p.m. My manager signed off on the report, and I decided to do something nice before going home. I figured I would stop by that boutique on 5th Street and buy the ridiculously expensive candles Dominique kept mentioning, the ones she slowed down to look at every time we walked past the window. They were $38 each for something that smelled like vanilla and burned down in about 20 hours. But she wanted them, and I wanted to see her smile. The engagement ring had cost me 4 months of savings. The wedding venue, photographer, caterer, florist, and honeymoon deposits had already pushed me almost $18,000 deep into a future that, at the time, still seemed worth every penny. 4 years of my life were wrapped around her. Every plan, every dream, every quiet assumption that the person beside me was walking in the same direction. My brother Wesley's truck was in the driveway when I pulled up. That was not unusual. He had been crashing in our guest room since January, after getting let go from his sales job at a car dealership. Something about his numbers not meeting quota, though Wesley's version involved a jealous manager and unfair expectations. I had not pushed him for details because it did not matter. He was my brother. He needed help. I gave him a roof, meals, and zero pressure about how long it would take him to get back on his feet. That was what brothers were supposed to do. The house was quiet when I walked in. Too quiet for 2 people being home. Wesley's shoes were by the door. His jacket was on the hook. Dominique's purse was on the kitchen counter where she always left it. But there was no TV, no music, no voices. Then I heard it coming from upstairs, from the master bedroom, a rhythm you cannot mistake for anything else. The headboard hitting the wall in a steady beat I recognized because I had heard that sound before from the other side. Here is the thing about moments like that. Real life is not always kicking down doors and throwing punches. Real life is your brain suddenly going calm because falling apart does not give you leverage. It just gives everyone else a way to paint you as the unstable one in whatever story they tell afterward. I walked upstairs, each step deliberate. My heart was pounding, but my hands were steady. The bedroom door was cracked open. They had not even bothered to close it all the way. Why would they? I was not supposed to be home for another 6 hours. I pushed the door open, and there they were. Wesley scrambled away from her so fast he nearly fell off the bed. Dominique grabbed the sheet, like covering herself now could somehow undo what I had already seen. Like it could erase the image that was already burned into my brain forever. My bed, my sheets, the headboard I had spent 2 weekends assembling because the instructions were in Swedish, and half the dowels did not fit right. "Brennan," she started. "How long?" My voice came out flat, controlled. They looked at each other. Even then, even while caught, they had their own silent language, their own little communication that did not need words. That was when I knew this was not new. This was not a moment of weakness. This was not one terrible mistake. This was routine. "How long, Dominique?" She was crying now. Real tears. 6 months. 6 months. Half a year. Since January. That meant it started right after Wesley moved in. Right after I opened my home to him, because he had nowhere else to go. Right after I told him to take as long as he needed. I did the math automatically. 6 months of dinners I had cooked for all 3 of us. 6 months of mortgage payments on a house they were using as their personal love nest. 6 months of wedding planning. The venue tours, the cake tastings, the invitations we had agonized over, the vows I had written and rewritten because I wanted them to be perfect. 6 months of looking her in the eye every night and believing she loved me. I turned around and walked out. I just walked downstairs, past the kitchen where I had made them breakfast that morning, past the living room where we had watched movies together like a family, and out to my car. I drove to the parking lot behind the public library, sat there for 2 hours with my phone on silent, and worked through the logistics of my life falling apart. Then I got to work. First, I opened our joint banking app. We had 3 accounts: checking, savings, and an emergency fund. Total balance, $23,847. Half of that was mine. Money I had earned, deposited, and saved. I transferred exactly $11,923.50 into my personal account, the one Dominique could not access. Not a penny more. I was not trying to steal from her. I was protecting what was mine. Then I took screenshots. Transaction history going back 6 months. Every dinner I had paid for while she was sleeping with my brother. Every grocery run where I had bought food they both ate. Every utility bill that kept the lights on in the house where they were betraying me. Then I checked our shared iCloud account, the one I had set up when we first moved in together. We had both been syncing our devices to it for years. Her notes app was right there. I found what I was looking for in under 10 minutes. A note titled W, with a heart emoji. Dated entries going back to January 14th. January 14th. Finally happened. Felt wrong but also right. B doesn't suspect anything. January 28th. We need to be more careful. B almost came home early. February 12th. Told W, I love him. He said it back. March 3rd. B almost caught us today. Heart was pounding for an hour. This is so risky, but I can't stop. March 22nd. W says we should tell B eventually. Not yet. Not until after the wedding. I screenshot everything. Her email was synced through the same shared account, so I pulled that up from my phone while sitting in the library parking lot. I found the messages between them. Nothing graphic, but plenty of, miss you already. Tonight was perfect. We need to be more careful. And counting the minutes until B leaves for work. The wedding invitations had gone out 2 weeks earlier. 187 cream-colored envelopes with our names in gold script. Brennan and Dominique, in a font she had spent 3 hours choosing. The photographer was booked, $2,800, half up front. The caterer, the DJ, the florist, all paid. Her dress was hanging in our closet inside a garment bag that cost $300 just to preserve the fabric until the ceremony. I had written my vows 3 times, trying to get them exactly right. They were still saved in my notes app. I had practiced them in the shower that morning while she was probably texting my brother about when they could meet up next. By the time I finished documenting everything, it was past 7 p.m. There were 43 missed calls between Dominique, Wesley, and my mom. 16 voicemails. 81 text messages. I did not answer any of them. I drove to a Holiday Inn Express off the highway and paid cash for a week. The room smelled like industrial cleaner, recycled air, and other people's problems. But it had a deadbolt, and nobody knew where I was. At that moment, that counted for something. The family meeting happened Sunday at my mom's house. She called from my sister Cassidy's phone because I had already blocked everyone else. Brennan, we need to discuss this like adults. 2 p.m. Everyone will be there. I should have said no. I should have hung up and blocked that number too. But some stupid part of me still thought blood meant something. I thought I would walk in, and they would be handing Wesley his bags, telling him and Dominique to get out and never come back. I thought my mother would put her arm around me and say she was sorry this happened, and that she would always be on my side. I was an idiot. The living room was arranged like an intervention when I arrived. Mom was in her armchair by the window, the one Dad bought her before he left. Cassidy was on the love seat with her arms crossed, already looking annoyed that she had been forced to give up her Sunday for this. Wesley and Dominique were on the main couch, sitting close enough that their shoulders touched, looking tired, sad, and wounded, like victims in their own narrative. The only empty seat was a dining chair someone had dragged in from the kitchen and positioned directly across from all of them, like I was on trial. I stayed standing. Brennan, sit down, Mom said. It was that voice, the one she used when I was 16 and came home past curfew. Gentle but firm. The voice that meant she had already decided who was wrong. I'll stand. Why is she here? Because she's part of this family, Mom said. Or she was going to be. She's part of why we're having this conversation. Dominique started crying. Real tears, wet and theatrical, right on cue. Brennan, I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to happen. Wesley and I tried to fight it. We really did. But sometimes you can't help who you fall for. I watched her work the room. The trembling lip. The way she dabbed at her eyes with the tissue she had conveniently brought with her. The way she leaned into Wesley like he was her lifeline. She had rehearsed this. Probably spent all weekend perfecting it. We're in love, Wesley said. His voice cracked right on cue, too. I know the timing is terrible, and I know I messed up, but what Dom and I have is real. We didn't plan this. It just happened. It just happened, I repeated. For 6 months. In my house. In my bed. While I was at work keeping a roof over your head because you couldn't keep a job. Brennan, don't be crude, Cassidy said from the love seat. Crude? That's what concerns you right now? My word choice? Mom stood up and walked over to me. She put her hand on my arm with that gentle, disappointed expression I remembered from 100 arguments I had never won. Honey, I know you're hurt. Anyone would be. But Wesley is your brother. Blood family forgives. And if Dominique and Wesley have real feelings for each other, real, genuine feelings, maybe it's better this happened now, before the wedding. Before you two made a mistake you couldn't take back. I stared at her. This was the woman who had called me her rock. Her reliable son. The one who showed up. The one who fixed things. The one who had supported her for 8 months after Dad left, letting her live in my spare room rent-free while she figured out her finances. The one who co-signed her car loan because her credit was wrecked. The one who called every Sunday without fail because that was what good sons did. You're taking their side. There aren't sides, Brennan. We're all family. You're taking their side. Wesley feels terrible. Cassidy cut in, leaning forward. They both do. This has been eating them alive. They didn't want to hurt you. They were going to tell you themselves after the wedding. After the wedding? I laughed, and the sound came out harsh and broken. So, the plan was to let me marry her, go on a honeymoon with her, build a life with her, and then what? Surprise! Your wife has been sleeping with your brother the whole time? That's not Dominique started. That is exactly what you just said. You were going to wait until after the wedding. We were confused, she said. We didn't know what to do. You knew exactly what to do. You did it for 6 months in my bed, every chance you got. You're being dramatic, Dominique said. Something in her voice shifted. It got harder. Testing. She had realized the tearful routine was not working, so she was trying a new angle. It's not like we set out to betray you, she said. It just happened. People's feelings change, Brennan. That's life. That's how relationships work sometimes. Your feelings changed into my brother while you were wearing my ring. Maybe the ring was a mistake. Maybe we moved too fast. Maybe if you had paid more attention to me instead of working all the time. There it was. My fault. Of course it was my fault. I had driven her to it by working too much. Working to pay for the wedding she wanted. Working to save for the house she wanted. Working to build the future she claimed she wanted. I looked around the room one more time. My mother, who had chosen her cheating son over her, betrayed one. My sister, who had called my reaction to being cheated on dramatic. My brother, who had repaid my kindness by sleeping with my fiancée in my home for half a year. Here's what's going to happen, I said. My voice was calm now, deadly calm. The same calm I used at work when reviewing evidence that was about to destroy someone's case. I'm going to walk out of here. You're all going to live with the choices you made today. And in about a week, everyone we know, every single person who got an invitation to that wedding, is going to find out exactly what kind of people you are. What does that mean? Mom asked. Her voice had an edge now. The first real sign of concern. It means consequences. Something this family apparently forgot existed. Brennan, don't do anything stupid, Wesley said. I've been doing something stupid for years, trusting you. That ends today. I walked out. Nobody followed. Nobody called after me to apologize. Nobody ran to stop me or take my side or tell me they had made a mistake. And that told me everything. Monday morning, I started building my case like I was investigating fraud, because that was exactly what this was. I placed credit freezes with all 3 bureaus. I opened a new checking account at a different bank. I got a new phone number. I locked down every account, changed every password, removed Dominique from everything I could, and documented all of it. By Tuesday, I had called my real estate agent and told him to list the house that week. While he was there for photos, I had the locks changed. On Wednesday, I drafted a formal eviction notice for Wesley. 30 days, written notice, certified mail with signature confirmation. Not emotional, not vindictive, just legal terminology about termination of a verbal month-to-month tenancy arrangement and requirement to vacate the premises. I added a line about sheriff escort being available during final move-out if needed. Wednesday night was wedding logistics. I called the venue and explained the situation without going into details. Just, the wedding is canceled. I am the sole name on the contract. Please confirm this in writing. They were sympathetic, but firm. No refund on the deposit. I had expected that. I just needed the paper trail. Total money lost was roughly $8,400. A small price to learn who someone really was. That same Wednesday night, Dominique showed up at the house. I watched through the security camera app while sitting in my car 3 blocks away. She pounded on the door for 10 minutes, called my name, tried her old key, realized it no longer worked, and then called me 16 times in a row while standing on the porch. Eventually, she left, but not before kicking the door hard enough to leave a scuff mark I would have to explain to potential buyers. Dominique had texted 17 times asking when she could come get her things. I told her Saturday between 2 and 4 p.m. Supervised. She could have a friend present if she wanted. I would have the sheriff's non-emergency line on speed dial just in case. The house went on the market Thursday. Thursday also brought the near mistake. I was grabbing the last of my clothes from the house when Wesley's truck pulled into the driveway. He must have been watching for my car. Maybe Dominique had called him. Maybe they were coordinating. He caught me on the front porch and blocked the path to my car. Brennan, we need to talk. No, we don't. Just give me 5 minutes, let me explain. There's nothing to explain. I'm family. That's why we need to work through this. That's why I'm here. To apologize. To make things right. Something about the way he said it made me actually look at him. His eyes were red. His hands were shaking slightly. He could not meet my gaze for more than a second before looking away. He was not sorry. He was scared. What did Dominique tell you? I asked. What do you mean? About the wedding cancellation. His face went pale. That confirmed it. She had called one of the vendors, probably the venue or photographer, and they had mentioned the cancellation was already in process. Now they were scrambling to get ahead of it. Brennan, whatever you're thinking about doing, already done. I pushed past him toward my car. The emails go out Saturday at 9 a.m., 187 guests, plus the wedding party, plus both extended family networks. You can't do that. You'll destroy us. No. You destroyed this. I'm just telling people about it. What about the deposits? The money we lost? We. I stopped at my car door and turned back to look at him. There is no we anymore, Wesley. There's me. And there's you and Dominique. Figure out your own problems. Brennan, please. I'm begging you. I got into my car, started the engine, and rolled down the window. You should have thought about consequences 6 months ago. Then I drove away and watched him shrink in the rearview mirror until I turned the corner. The email went out Saturday morning at exactly 9 a.m. I had scheduled it the night before from my hotel room, triple-checked the recipient list, and read through the message one more time to make sure it was clean. The subject line was simple: wedding cancellation, Brennan and Dominique. The body was 4 paragraphs, factual, no emotion, no insults, no accusations beyond what I could prove, just the truth. But I was not done. 30 minutes later, I sent a separate email to the wedding party. Bridesmaids, groomsmen, the people who had committed time and money to stand up with us. Same factual tone, but with one additional line. If you need verification of these events or have questions about refunds, please contact Dominique or Wesley directly. I pushed the responsibility back where it belonged. Then I turned off my phone and went for a drive. 3 hours through back roads I had never taken, past farms and fields, and places where nobody knew my name, my family, or my story. When I turned my phone back on at sunset, I had 94 unread texts and 67 missed calls. The responses split into predictable camps. Support from people who had known me the longest. Neutral confusion from guests trying to figure out logistics. Damage control from my family demanding that I retract everything. My mom's voicemail was particularly memorable. Brennan, what have you done? Everyone is calling me. Everyone. How could you humiliate your brother like this? I saved the voicemail. I screenshotted every text that came through and added all of it to my archive. The social fallout started within 48 hours. Dominique worked as a dental hygienist at a local dental practice. The practice owners were connected to my parents through mutual friends. By Monday afternoon, the practice owner had heard enough that he called Dominique into his office. She was not fired. That would have been wrongful termination. But she was moved to their satellite location 45 minutes away with reduced hours. Within 3 weeks, she quit. Wesley had managed to land a sales spot at another dealership a few weeks before the email went out. Car sales is a relationship business. Referrals matter. Repeat customers matter. Reputation matters. When people are spending $20,000 or $30,000 on a vehicle, they want to trust the person selling it to them. Word got around the dealership about what he had done. Then word got to customers. The guys who had bought from Wesley before and were planning to come back for their next purchase started asking for different salespeople. The families who had referred friends to him stopped referring. His pipeline dried up. His numbers dropped 60% in 6 weeks. Management put him on a performance improvement plan. When he did not improve, when he could not improve, because reputation damage does not heal that fast, they let him go that fall. None of this was my doing. Not directly. Not technically. I told the truth one time to the people who deserved to know why they were no longer attending my wedding. Everything else was just gravity. The house sold in 11 days. Cash offer, $8,000 under asking, from a young couple relocating from out of state. I took it immediately. The buyers could close in 2 weeks, and I needed to be gone. But before I left, I had unfinished business. I filed 2 small claims actions. One against Wesley for unpaid rent, 6 months of living expenses at fair market value for the guest room, plus utilities calculated at $300 per month, $1,800 total. Well within small claims limits. The second was against Dominique for provable shared expenses she had committed to before the affair came to light. Half the venue deposit we had paid jointly, half the photographer deposit, half the caterer advance. Clean documentation. Joint bank statements. Vendor contracts with both our names. Total, $4,200. I filed both cases the same day, paid for professional service, had them served at their workplaces through proper legal channels. Dominique got hers at the dental office during lunch hour. Wesley got his at the dealership showroom in front of customers. Public humiliation. Legally delivered. The court dates were scheduled for 2 months out. I did not care if I won, though the documentation was solid enough that I probably would. I cared about the process. The certified letters, the awkward conversations when people asked why they were being sued, the fact that their names were now in public court records associated with the words unpaid rent and breach of agreement. Consequences that lasted. My boss had mentioned a position at our West Coast office 9 months earlier. Operations supervisor in Portland. Better title, better money, better opportunities. I had turned it down because Dominique did not want to leave her family. She did not want to move across the country. She did not want to start over somewhere new. Funny how that worked out. I called my boss on a Thursday morning. Is that Portland position still available? Regional operations coordinator now. Same office, bigger scope. Why? You interested? When do they need someone? Honestly, 2 weeks ago. They've been running short-staffed since February. I'll be there in 3 weeks. Before I left, the harassment started escalating. My aunt showed up at my hotel, then my cousin, then family friends I barely remembered. All of them had the same script. Family forgives. Blood is thicker than water. Wesley is suffering. Dominique is suffering. You need to let this go. I drafted a cease and desist letter. Not from a lawyer. I could not afford one. But I found a template online and customized it. I printed it on professional letterhead I made myself. I cited harassment statutes. I listed every contact attempt with dates and times. I sent it certified mail to my mother's address, with instructions to forward it to anyone who continued contacting me. I added one line at the bottom. Further unwanted contact will result in a restraining order filing and documentation of harassment pattern with local law enforcement. It worked. The calls stopped. The move cost almost everything I had left after the house sale cleared. $1,700 for the U-Haul. $800 for gas across 10 states. First month and security deposit on a studio apartment I found on Craigslist. By the time I had a bed and enough kitchen supplies to feed myself, my savings account showed $1,100. But nobody knew me there. Nobody looked at me with pity or whispered when I walked past. Nobody asked about Dominique or Wesley or the wedding that never happened. I was anonymous, and anonymous was exactly what I needed. Work was the only thing keeping me sane. I showed up early, left late, and solved problems nobody else wanted to touch. Within 8 months, they promoted me to operations manager with a 15% raise. I took it. Then I asked what I needed to do to get the next one. 13 months after I arrived, I met Meredith at a coworker's birthday party. She was a veterinary technician at an animal hospital in Southeast Portland, the kind of person who spent her days caring for scared animals and worried owners. She had a quiet laugh, direct questions, and a way of looking at you like she was actually listening instead of just waiting for her turn to talk. We talked for 3 hours about nothing important. Music, movies, the best hiking trails within an hour of the city, whether pineapple belonged on pizza. Her position was absolutely not, and she was willing to fight about it. When I walked her to her car, she handed me her number before I even asked. Our first real date was at a Thai place in the Pearl District. She ordered the spiciest thing on the menu and did not flinch when it arrived, looking like it could melt through the plate. So, she said, "What's your story? Why did you move across the country to Portland?" I could have lied. I could have given her the sanitized version. Fresh start, new opportunities, career growth, all technically true and completely meaningless. But I was done pretending. So I told her everything. The discovery, the family meeting, the email, the small claims filings, the move. I watched her face for judgment, pity, or the uncomfortable shifting people usually do when they learn your life imploded. None of it showed up. When I finished, she reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "They didn't break you," she said. "They just showed you where not to stand anymore." That was the first time in over a year that I felt like someone understood the difference. They started trying to get me back around month 18. First came the flying monkeys. Old high school contacts, distant cousins, Facebook friends from college. People I had not spoken to in years suddenly slid into my DMs with variations of the same script, Your sister says you won't answer her calls. Don't you think it's time to move on? Wesley has been really struggling since everything happened. Then came the health card, a text from my uncle on my mom's side, from a number I had not thought to block. Your mom has been diagnosed with early-stage breast cancer. Stage 1. Treatable. But she's asking for you. I know what happened was messed up, but she's your mother, Brennan. I sat with that one for 3 days. I called Meredith, talked it through, and picked the whole thing apart. Mom had not asked for me directly. Cassidy was orchestrating the outreach through my uncle. Same dynamic as always. The family coordinating behind the scenes to manage me, manipulate me, and get me back in line. I texted him back. Tell Mom I hope her treatment goes well. I'm not coming back. His response was short. She'll be devastated. I did not reply. Mom's treatment went fine. I know because Cassidy posted about it constantly on Facebook before I blocked her there too. Photos of Mom smiling in a hospital bed. Captions about family rallying together and getting through tough times. Not a single mention of the son who was not there. Fine by me. Then Dominique found my new email address 20 months after I had left. Brennan, I know I'm the last person you want to hear from. I know you probably hate me, and I deserve that. Wesley and I broke up 8 months ago. It was a mistake. All of it. I threw away the best thing I ever had for someone who couldn't even commit when things got hard. I was stupid and selfish and cruel, and I hurt you in ways I can't take back. I'm not asking for another chance. I just needed you to know that I know what I lost. I hope you're happy somewhere. You deserve to be. D. I read it twice. I noticed the careful language, the implied victimhood, the Wesley couldn't commit deflection, the attempt to position herself as the one who had suffered too. Then I blocked her email address. Too little, too late, and I did not need her guilt cluttering my inbox. Things escalated at month 22. A coworker mentioned that someone had been asking questions about me at a spot downtown. A woman matching Dominique's description, claiming to be an old friend trying to reconnect. She wanted to know where I worked, where I lived, whether I was seeing anyone. I alerted building security at my apartment complex. I updated my locks to a keypad system. I changed my daily patterns. Different routes to work, different gym schedule, different grocery store. I started documenting everything in a folder on my computer, just in case. 2 weeks later, an anonymous email arrived at my work address. It was sent to me and CC'd to my entire department, including my boss and 3 levels of management. You all should know that Brennan is not who he claims to be. He's a manipulative, vindictive person who destroyed his own family and blamed everyone else for his failures. He drove his ex-fiancée to a breakdown. He abandoned his sick mother. Don't trust anything he says about his past or his character. No signature, no specifics, no facts. Just vague character assassination designed to make people look at me differently. I forwarded it to HR within an hour. I included a summary of the situation. Ex-fiancée, affair with my brother, family estrangement, ongoing harassment. I provided documentation, screenshots of previous contact attempts, a timeline of events, and copies of the cease and desist letter I had already sent. HR launched an investigation. They traced the email to an IP address associated with a coffee shop in the same city where Dominique now lived. They could not prove conclusively that it was her. Public Wi-Fi, no login records. But the pattern was clear enough. I did not waste time. I hired a paralegal service online, $180 for a professionally formatted cease and desist letter citing harassment statutes and documenting the pattern of unwanted contact. I sent it certified mail to Dominique's current address, which took me about 20 minutes of public record searching to find. Then I filed a report with the local police in her jurisdiction, not to press charges. I did not have enough evidence for that. I did it to create a paper trail, to have her name in a system somewhere associated with harassment in case things escalated further. I saved the incident report number in my documentation folder. The anonymous emails stopped, but I added one more layer. I updated my will, my emergency contacts, and my beneficiary information on every account I had. I put Meredith's name on all of it. Every last trace of the old life was gone. I added a note in my personnel file at work documenting the harassment pattern and authorizing HR to share information with law enforcement if needed. I was done looking back. 3 years to the day after I left. Everything lined up. Meredith and I had been married for 6 months. Small ceremony, just friends and her family. People who had actually earned the right to celebrate with us. Our daughter Lily was 3 months old, born in May, with her mother's eyes and my stubborn refusal to sleep on schedule. I had been promoted twice at the company. Regional operations director now. Corner office with a view of the Willamette River. A team of 14 people reporting to me. The salary was not make-you-rich money, but it was solid enough that we had bought a house in a quiet neighborhood and stopped worrying about every purchase. The final piece fell into place because Dominique could not leave well enough alone. She had gotten a new job after leaving the practice. Dental hygienist at a small office in her hometown, back where she started, trying for a clean slate, respectable position, fresh start. What she did not know was that the new practice owner was connected to the state dental board, and one of the board's ethics committee members happened to be Meredith's uncle. Not something I planned. Not something I engineered. Just how small professional worlds work sometimes. Over Thanksgiving dinner at Meredith's parents' house, her uncle mentioned that they had to investigate a hygienist who had been caught running unauthorized searches through the state health information exchange. The lookups she ran were all connected to one person, he said. Some guy who used to live in her state and moved to Oregon? She claimed she was just curious about an old acquaintance. But HIPAA doesn't care about curiosity. I nearly dropped my fork. What was her name? He told me. Dominique. She had been using her credentials to search for information about me through the health information exchange. My current address, my employer, my insurance details, everything logged automatically because healthcare privacy laws require audit trails. The practice owner discovered the pattern during a routine audit. No clinical justification, no treatment relationship, just unauthorized access to protected health information. I asked him what the consequences were. License suspension pending full investigation, he said. If the board determines she intentionally violated patient privacy for personal reasons, which seems pretty clear from the pattern, she's looking at permanent revocation, plus potential civil liability if the patient decides to pursue it. I was not going to pursue it. I did not need to. The board had already launched their investigation. The audit trail spoke for itself. Her own actions had created the evidence. I had filed a police report 2 years earlier. I had documented the harassment pattern. I had sent a formal cease and desist. I had created a paper trail that showed this was not isolated curiosity. It was part of an ongoing pattern of unwanted contact. When the board investigator requested background information, all of that documentation was sitting in a folder, organized chronologically, ready to forward. Professional misconduct, privacy violation, harassment pattern. Documented and dated. She had nuked herself. I just kept the receipts. 3 weeks later, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered out of habit before checking. Brennan, my mother said. Please, we need to talk. How did you get this number? Your cousin gave it to me. He didn't know. Mom, Brennan, please just listen. I should have hung up. But something in her voice made me hesitate. She sounded old, tired. Different from the woman who had told me to forgive my brother 3 years earlier. What do you want, Mom? Wesley is falling apart. He lost another job. He can't keep a relationship. Dominique is blaming him for everything that happened with her career. They're both just spiraling. And I know you don't owe any of us anything, but he's still your brother. He still needs family. He had family. He had me. And he chose to sleep with my fiancée for 6 months while I paid his rent. We were wrong, she said quietly. All of us. The way we handled that meeting. The things we said. You told me I was being dramatic. You told me to forgive him. You chose him. I was wrong. Yeah, you were. Neither of us said anything for a while. 3 years of nothing. And now this. I'm not coming back, I said finally. I'm not helping Wesley. I'm not rescuing Dominique from consequences she created for herself. I have a family now. A wife who chooses me every single day. A daughter who needs me. People who actually want me around. I understand. Do you? More silence. I miss you, Brennan. Every day. I know. And I did know. But knowing did not change anything. Missing me did not undo what happened. Take care of yourself, Mom. I hung up. Meredith came into the room with Lily on her hip. Who was that? My mother. You okay? I looked at my wife. At my daughter reaching for me with tiny fingers and a gummy smile. At the house we had built together. At the life we had earned. Yeah, I said. And I meant it. I'm okay. The final confrontation came 4 months later. I had a work conference back east. I could not avoid it. My presence was required for a leadership summit. I made the mistake of stopping at a coffee shop I used to frequent. Old habit. Wesley was there. He looked rough. 30 pounds heavier, none of it healthy. His eyes had that flat, hollowed-out look of someone who had stopped expecting things to get better. 3 years of consequences were written across his face. He spotted me before I could leave and crossed the shop in 4 strides. Brennan. Wesley. You look good. Thanks. He shifted his weight. Same nervous energy as that day on my porch. I've been trying to reach you for years. I just wanted to say, I know what you want to say. I've read the letters. Then you know I'm sorry. I know I said it before, but I mean it. What I did was the worst thing I've ever done in my life, and I've had to live with it every single day since. Good. He blinked. Good? You should have to live with it. That's how consequences work. You make a choice, you live with the results. We're still family. No, we're not. I said it without anger, without heat, just fact. You stopped being my brother the day I found you in my bed with my fiancée. The family meeting confirmed it. You all made your choice. This is you living with it. I've changed. I've been working on myself. Great. Go be better somewhere else. I don't need you in my life. I don't want you there. And honestly, I don't think about you anymore. His face crumpled. That look people get when they finally realize you are not bluffing. That it is actually over. What about Mom? She's getting older. She has you. She picked you. Remember? I finished my coffee and set the empty cup on a nearby table. Have a good life, Wesley. I mean that. Just have it away from me. I walked out and did not look back. The spring sun was warm on my face. My flight home left in 4 hours. Meredith and Lily would be waiting at the airport when I landed. I got into my rental car and started driving toward the airport. 2,647 miles between me and home. I would be there by tonight.